G'day, Westy here again. Okay, so now welcome to part 2, by the way. Thanks for tuning in. We're continuing with our Phoenix RC Simulator helicopter training series. The first and introduction one was based on basic hovering skills and learning your orientations, and this one is going to be based on learning to fly slow side-to-side circuits. So we're not going to be doing circles or anything like that, because you still need to learn your nose and orientation. Okay, so we're just going to slowly spool up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it into a hover. So we just actually what I was going to do is I was going to speak to you about some differences with Phoenix than a normal real life flying helicopter. What normally happens is when you start spooling up like this with a normal helicopter, the tail will normally, when it gets light on the skids, the tail will normally try and do this just before it comes off the ground. It'll try and go from left to right, and you've got to counter that before you can get it off the ground. One important thing though is if you find that you're actually really flying your helicopter, and you do find that your helicopter's way off on a funny angle, and you've got to land it way out there because you're panicking, don't be tempted to lift it up and bring it back to you. Walk out, go and get it, bring it back and start again. Otherwise you're going to crash, and that's where a lot of mistakes are made. So that's one important thing. The other thing is the simulator doesn't simulate is when you go to take off, you always want to be, unless you're flying a flybarless, you always want to be adding, as you're adding pitch to just light on the skids and just about to take off, you want to put a bit of right cyclic in. It doesn't actually do it with this for some reason. You don't get that drift that you normally get. You do get a little bit of drift, but in this, so if I go from nothing to lift off, it is drifting, but it usually drifts a lot faster than that to begin with, and you've got to kind of give it a little bit of right cyclic to get it up off the ground, and then it will fly. And then once it's up, you'll find out whether you've put too much in. If it's going a little bit to the right, and you can just counter it and get it into a hover. Once you've got it stabilized, you're good to go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to apply 3 o'clock cyclic, and we're just going to go nose right, and then we're just going to just pitch forward a little bit with the elevator, and then add a little bit of throttle, because it'll start to actually drop. And what we're going to do is we'll add throttle and go up in the air, and then rudder right round to 90 degrees, and then come down, level it out with the cyclic, and then go up, spin it around 180 degrees, cyclic collective down, level it out. It's a bit patchy with this. Same again, spin it around 180, collective down, use your cyclic to level it out so you don't smash into the ground, and just go up again, spin round, collective down, level it out, and that's how you basically do side-to-side circuits. So up, spin round, collective down a little bit, not all the way down, under half, and then level it out. Add your collective in to keep the level right. Okay, so if you get in trouble, just tail in and bring it back to yourself, and then get it into a nice stable hover. Just forward collective to slow down, bring it tail in, and then land it. So that's basically doing normal circuits, like side-to-side circuits. And as you start getting better, what I did is I started taking my circuits out on about a 45 degree angle, like so. And this is when I learnt first, and then I just used to go up and then bring it down and go, you know, that sort of distance away from me. Keep it consistent, cyclic collective up, spin round, collective down, correct your tail, and then use the cyclic to level out, and you'll get a nice smooth collective up, rudder round, collective down just under half, cyclic, add collective to keep the altitude, so stop you smacking into the ground. Rudder 180, drop your collective, cyclic, so you're pulling back cyclic. So how I learnt to actually do nose in reality was I was flying out like this, and when I spun it round it was actually flying towards me like that, and that's when I started panicking, going, oh no. But then I thought, oh hang on, I've got it up there quite high, I'm going to try doing a nose in up there, and that's exactly what I was doing. It was this here. I just brought it in a bit so that I could see the orientation. Put it in towards me, and then I just hovered it there like so. And I thought, far out, I can do that. And then I gave it a bit of collective, eased the collective down, and then when it came towards me I just spun it so it was going that way again. And that was my first nose in experience in reality. And then, you know, you can nose in. Once you've done that, you're pretty much comfortable with nose in, but you need to practice your nose in orientation as per the first hovering technique, because your nose in is going to be completely opposite to all other actions that you use. So you'll be pulling back to make it go kind of, so yeah, so that's pretty much nose in hovering right there. So with nose in hovering, everything's completely opposite. Basically, one thing I learnt from a few of the guys that fly a lot better than I do is basically when you nose in like this, whichever way the helicopter's tipping, turn your especially with your aileron controls, you want to push your stick towards the way it's the rotor's falling. Okay, so I'll bring it a bit closer and I'll show you what I mean. So let's just say it's in here, we'll bring it in. Okay, so yeah, see how I moved it? So it's going off that way, you move your cyclic that way. If it's going to the left, if the rotor is falling to the left, it's falling down, you aim your control to that downward tipping blade, if that makes sense. So it's getting quite a way away that I can hardly see it. So yeah, so when you're actually, so you've got to pull back to make it stop coming towards you, which is a complete opposite of when you're going tail in. You're pushing away by moving forward, and when you pull back it comes back towards you. Well, with nose in it's completely the opposite. You're basically pushing forward to elevator to bring it towards you and pulling back to take it away from you. But yeah, so if it starts going tail that way, you move your aileron towards the way that the rotor's falling. See what I mean? So if the rotor starts falling that way, you move your aileron towards it to stop it from coming down. Okay, so I hope that kind of helps you guys understand that kind of a little bit. And let's just practice some more side-to-side circuits. So we're just going to go add collective, get into a nice glide pattern, collective up, and then rudder, collective down, cyclic, add a bit of collective to smooth it out. There was a pretty untidy bit, and then collective up, pull back on a little bit, and then spin round. If you're out of control, spin your tail around so you can see the tail, and then tail all the way back into yourself so that you can get it back under control again, like so. Okay, and then if you're really panicking, you can just put it down and then shake it out. But yeah, so always remember that point I made about if you're learning and you're just starting out and your helicopter ends up flying off into some funny area and it's on a funny angle, Don't try and fly it back to yourself. It's the biggest mistake young pilots, novices make, and you'll end up smacking it to the ground and you wish you'd got up and walked towards it and picked it up and put it back in front of you. So always pick it up and put it. It's all about discipline, guys, and you can't be too impatient with this. It takes a lot of eye-hand coordination. Honestly, it takes a lot. I've probably done 200-300 hours of actual simulator time, and I'm not that good for someone that's done that many hours, put it that way. So I'm a slow learner, what can I say? But I do enjoy teaching others to how to do it correctly and how to do it good. And I've probably done about 40 hours of actual real 30 hours, I would say, of actual real battery time on heli out in the real world. So that's pretty much your side-to-side circuits. And the next lesson we're going to go into doing actual circuits. So you'll be going round and round and round in figure eights. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks very much for tuning in. This is Westy over and out.